G'day, guys, and welcome to Warrior by Design. I'm your host, Benjamin John. Like I've said, and like always, we've got another brilliant person on here. We've got James on here, who actually is he's actually part of the Two Minds project, as you can see in his background there. This man, he is leading people in creating what they want to achieve. He's also allowing people to create, more time, money, and confidence in their businesses and within life in general. Right? This is what he's about. He's co-founded the Two Minds project. He's one of Australia's fastest growing coaches within is all within this company as well. He's also dedicated and has spoken. James has also dedicated his time and spoken in front of hundreds of thousands of people to co-create, and he's also co-created his six-figure business that he has in front of him now, which is a Two Minds project, right? I believe that's it. Is that right, James? A Two Minds project?
That's it, brother. Yeah. That is it.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. So, his niche, I suppose, is creating and working with people in the business sense and being able to create these $10,000 months that lead to six-figure businesses. But I think beyond that, from my own personal experience of looking into what he does, there's also creating who we need to be to show up in the world to create what we want to create, right? So that's what I love about it. Thank you so much, James, for jumping on here. And we'll just have a bit of a chat in the background that we decided we need to start bloody press and record because we've got so much gold that's happening here in the background. So if we want to go back to what we was kind of really talking about, was really just all we were saying is I was sort of talking about who I was, who you were, but you're sort of saying that within your coaching, you really seen some benefits in creating a team connection, right? And that real connection through a show you were talking about. Can you just tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for the intro, brother. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna throw this out there right now, really early in the podcast, to kind of differentiate Two Minds Project from every other company that talks about business coaching and taking people from 0 to 10K, right? 0 to 10K a month. The reason we chose that is because freedom is the goal, right? And I can tell you right now that that particular journey is the first major piece of the puzzle when it comes to creating freedom, particularly here in Australia, and having just a little bit more than what you need so that you can think differently. And all we consider it to be is an impact indicator. It's an impact indicator, impact on self, and then the ability to impact others by having that little bit more than you need. And as we build people up to create more capacity to impact themselves and then increase their capacity to impact others, then all of a sudden we start to create those epic waves that go out, and we call these impact indicators. And so the goal really is freedom. And part of this journey of taking people, emerging coaches, emerging entrepreneurs, emerging mentors, emerging therapists, healers from 0 to 10K a month, part of that journey is a journey that we take as a team. Because one of the hardest things to do is create more than you need. Why? Because the current societal paradigm, the current education system, the current conditioning that most humans go through is designed to keep us at just enough level where we always need to ask for more, because that creates that conformity, that we're experiencing. That creates calm in the chaos based on this old system. And so it can be incredibly difficult to break free of that. Create a system of your own sovereignty, create a system that is a life designed by you, and earn more than you need. And so what happens is a lot of people realize, holy shit, I might have to stop talking to some of my old friends. I might have to talk a little bit less to my family. Far out. I'm different now to the people I used to hang out with. Holy shit, this is a little bit lonely. So what we've realized is, and back to the conversation we were having about the show on Netflix that I was watching back in August called SEAL Team. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I took so much from that show about the way that they articulated the relationships that a tactical team of Tier 1 Navy SEALs create to create the most unbelievable missions, like where they are literally risking it all every single time they go out there, and then bringing everybody back and moving forward as one. And we've really implemented that theory in this journey from 0 to 10K to recognize that actually it can be really lonely. And if you're a sitting duck and you're alone, you're going to find the journey is a lot harder. That the chances of you not making it astronomically rise. Right. However, when we get together as a team and we move forward as one, then the probability of success, the probability to getting to the end safely, to ending the mission quickly, to creating the objective that we want, astronomically rises. So fuck yes, man. We really, really, really value the team element in this journey to 10,000 and even beyond that, even to 20 to 30,000 a month. It's just a measure for where we are on a particular journey of consciousness. And that's what we're all about at Two Minds Project, about helping people transcend consciousness.
Yeah, look, that's amazing, mate. And look, as you know, I was sort of saying to you, obviously having that Special Forces background, that Special Forces training, I can totally see that, right? Like there's something, as much as obviously the actual structure of, the military and that sort of environment isn't what I'd like to replicate with working with people.
Yeah.
But most definitely, there's something special, as I said to you, and something magical in being with a group of people, regardless, right, that is allow themselves to be so vulnerable and so open to the possibility of even, in this case, losing their life, to be able to connect on that to be able to connect on that level with someone or a team of people and work in a flow that literally in that scenario creates either life or death. But to be able to work in a flow with people on a level that allows us to be in a heightened state, or not even heightened, but allows us to be in a level of flow that is so in connection that you, like, I don't want to put life and death into it, but you can literally work at a level that's so heightened, so in flow, that allows us to understand that nothing's going to stop us, right? And if it does, it is what it is, right? But nothing's going to stop us. And I'm allowing myself to be so vulnerable in that moment to trust in the, we can put the airy fairy and the kittens and the fluffy stuff in there too, in the universe, in who we are, in our team, in what we can achieve. There's something magical in that, right? Now, that connection, I can totally see how beneficial that could be, being able to try and replicate that in a real life scenario without all the structure and everything, which is amazing and beautiful.
Man, totally. And that, one of the reasons I loved watching that show so much is because it highlighted that negative side of the the military structure and what that caused in their personal lives. And the way they articulated the relationships outside of their lives, the sacrifice that they were trained to think that they needed to make, and all of the things that they sabotage and burn down in their personal lives, was a huge reminder to recognize there's some real gems in this structure. It's so amazing to see what a team can create. However, is a fine line between creating an amazing tactical, effective team here to do this job, but actually burning down a whole personal side of their life just to create that. And I think it's those of us who are innovating ideas, who are mapping consciousness to go, hey, how do we take these elements of this tactical team building, but also make sure that it's not at the expense of destroying personal lives and destroying, the collective's happiness. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I loved it so much, because it showed both sides so well. And I can't even imagine what it must have been like as a real life human being like yourself to have gone through that journey, to have to know it personally. Like, I got goosebumps right now to think that, I'm talking to someone who knows that journey within them, not just as conceptually, not just as watching it on a screen,
Yeah, look, and I think now, if you had been speaking to me, Benjamin, 2 years ago, I don't know if I'd be able to connect with it in the same way as I can today, right? Which is very important because, that shows growth, right? That shows
Absolutely.
that shows movement, and that shows whatever. And I think that's very important to know, that I can now see and experience exactly what you're saying. Now, there's also, there's obviously those aspects of the cool things about being in the special forces and all the other stuff. And, I could have played on that so much in my marketing and my branding and whatever. But to me, that warrior element, which is why I've got warrior by design, right? That warrior element, the true warrior element, that will, that desire, that drive, that passion, that creation, that all that stuff that I call the warrior, that allows us to take the action to show up and be vulnerable of who we want to be in life. That stuff right there is the magic from where I was, the artificial warrior, to the true warrior of being in my own life, of creating by design, right? And being in that place. And I think that's a difference for me now of where I was to where I am. And I love what you're doing, right? I can see the online consciousness, the coffee and consciousness, which is amazing stuff, right? Because there's more and more people out there that are having these conversations with people and starting to explore, what do we need to do this stuff, right? What do we need to achieve this shit in our lives? Like, because there'd be plenty. If we talk to the monkeys in the room, or the people out there, the naysayers, or the people that think that all this is, it's all bullshit, it's money, it's blah blah blah. If we talk to those people, right, I think even on the basic level, we can say that we all want choice, right? We all want choice within our own lives, and with what you do, you're allowing people to build that choice through a means of, if we, at the moment, no matter how much we fight it or argue it, our units of choice to be able to have that choice in the voice of this is money, right? That's something we need in our lives to be able to make choices in our life.
Yep.
And that's what, from what I can see, that's what you're about, mate, is allowing people to be able to have those choices, have those units of choice, to be able to create whatever they want and not be told how to create. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on that, mate, and how you achieve that with people, and what that looks like for you?
Man, this is just a perfect preface for what we do, because a lot of people come to us, and they either want to start their business, and more to the point, a lot of coaches who are making maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a month in their businesses come to us, and some of these coaches have been doing it for like years, and they've even been part of other business coaching programs, and they're just capping at that level, and they come to us and they go, why are your clients creating these epic results? What am I missing? What am I not learning? And it's what you just said, like, it comes back down to our relationship to money and units of choice. And so actually the first step is not about creating some epic strategy for business. It's not about creating the latest, greatest funnel. It's not about having all the bells and whistles. It's actually about building a mindset of both resilience and innovation, and recognizing that it's at the journey to 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month, even 50,000 a month is 80%, if not 90% mindset. I teach business through mindset. The simple way to 10K is our business coaching course, right? Because actually there's very little that you actually need to create that kind of measurement of units of choice, 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month. What you need is a mindset. What you need to do is become, like you said at the beginning, become the person who can run a business and who can think differently and think outside of the system that we were taught. So the first step is to recognize your relationship with money, which is your relationship to time, choice, and freedom. Remove the programs that are not serving you in that aspect, throw them out the window, and build new programs, and then integrate them into the unconscious. So that when it comes to your business, your lifestyle, your relationships, your health, and everything else in your life, you're operating from a place of thriving rather than surviving, right? Yeah. Because what we noticed, right, and this is why SEAL Team, I loved that show so much, is it still highlighted this idea that the survival mindset is what is being created by the old system. And when you say, you know, the naysayers and the people who say it's all about money and this is a bullshit, it is a bullshit ploy. Well, the thing is, that's also an impact indicator. Those people saying that is an impact indicator, but it's an indicator of impact from the old system. And so it's just a measurement. Money is just a measurement. These things are all impact indicators. They're all allowing us to measure where we are in transcending consciousness. And the thing is, the more money we make, the more units of choice we create, the more freedom we have, and the more expansive we can think, and the more we can do to help. So actually making more money is directly linked to transcending more humans to a space of being able to give more. But it must start with you. So it's the relationship to money, the relationship to success, the programs that have been indoctrinated in us. That's the first step to creating $10,000 a month. The rest of it's easy, because once you remove those money blocks, once you change the programs, once you recognize your relationship to success and you start to become a new person, then you can learn to sell. And when you learn to sell, you realize that every conversation is a sale. And you realize that selling is your relationship to believing in the conviction of your product and what you're delivering to the world. And actually, if you're in business right now and you're afraid to sell your product, if you're underselling your product, if you're not selling high ticket, then actually what you're saying to the world unconsciously is, I don't have full belief that this product is worth what I would pay for it. And this is the next huge step for us. It's helping people change their relationship to sales, helping people throw out the old paradigm of selling, that selling is bad, that it's disgusting, that it's evil, that, you know, people just want to take your money, and recognizing actually there's a way to sell from your heart by asking questions and by actually only selling people what they need and doing it truly from that heart space. And when you sell, you're selling your conviction, you're selling your vision, and you're bringing more people forward with us into a future of freedom, into a future of choice, right? This is what we're all about, man. That's how we start the process. Relationship to success, relationship to money, relationship to sales. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Look, and I actually see that. Like, I've worked with people in this space as well, and I've come to the point of really understanding that I think what it is for everyone, like if I kind of like, I want to try and speak from every level, right? Because I've come from a level of having nothing, fighting for every cent in my life, and I've come for, totally, brother. And I've come to a point of, I'm pretty freaking comfortable, honestly, right? So I suppose what I want to try and get to is, listen, if I take selling and I take money out of it, right? I just talk about, well, what is stopping me? Let's just talk about myself personally, right? Or if someone in my scenario, what is stopping me from reaching the people on the level that I want to reach? What is stopping me from being able to create, everyone's going to have some sort of brand, right? In any sort of business, everyone's got, even honestly, like the masks that we put on our own personal brands, right, within our own life, right? Whether I'm the bikie, I'm the special forces dude, I'm the hippie, I'm the this, I'm the that, whatever. They're all our brands we're displaying to the world, right, of who we are and our personalities and personas and masks and whatever. So for me personally, if I go, well, what's stopping me from doing that, right? And I'll go, oh, well, it's just taking up so much of my time. I'm stuck, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what's going to solve that solution? Well, what if I didn't have to do all the content? What if I didn't have to do all the marketing stuff? What if I didn't have to do all that stuff? It's like, that's going to free up some time, but I can still do all the hard stuff of sharing myself with people, giving that value, allowing people to support people, not to go through all that stuff. But what do I need to do that? Well, if I need to pay people to do that stuff for me so I don't take up as much time in my life, so I can spend that with family, because I can spend that with friends, well, then I need to make money, right? So I can pay those people. Now, if I don't have money to pay those people, that means I have to do it, right? If I want to see this vision grow, that means I have to put the time in. I have to take away that, because our most precious commodity is time, right? So I have to take that away from my family, from my friends, from the fun stuff, from the joy, to do things that aren't necessarily resonating with me personally. I might not love creating content. I might not love doing all this stuff, right? So I just find it interesting that we fight this, right? We fight this thing about trying to create more units of choice, currently money in our lives, to be able to reach those people, give our value, give all that we are, help support people, all these things that we start these journeys for. What do you say to that person?
Oh man, this is such a cool conversation, and it's so epic to, be sitting in front in a room with someone who has this kind of awareness, who's recognizing that, because this is the person who steps into our one-day event. We have a one-day event that is called the Conscious Business Mastermind, and it's all about those three things that I mentioned, right? And this is the person that comes to it, and they're really wondering that. They're really thinking like, what is it that I'm not thinking? What's the reason that I'm, thinking on a different paradigm still, and I'm fighting, like you said, resisting the need to make more money. And it comes down to this, right? It comes down to good and bad. Now, when it comes to the levels of consciousness and transitioning consciousness, when you go from working in the system to becoming an entrepreneur and being fully responsible for your own freedom and your own survival and your own ability to thrive, there's a huge transition that must be created. And it's the hardest transition to make that a human can make in consciousness. And so what happens is, when we're in the system and we're indoctrinated, like you said, by systems and jobs, we're indoctrinated by a really simple drug, and it's called good and bad, right and wrong. I'll say that again. We're indoctrinated using a drug. It's simple. It's called good and bad, or you might call it right and wrong. So what happens is, one of the things that we're indoctrinated to believe in that system is that taking money, wanting more for yourself than can allow you to survive is bad, right? It's wrong. And because it's wrong, you should give more than you take. And if you take more than you give, you're bad and it's wrong. So here's the thing, right? We end up creating a divide. People who want to take more than they give, or give more than they take. And both are a recipe for a conscience and a lifestyle that can only take you so far. We know this, right? However, the thing is that they're directly proportional. What we choose to give is directly proportional to how much we allow ourselves the permission to receive. I'll say that again, the permission to receive, right? I have an amazing mentor. His name's Julio De Lafitte. He speaks on our stage all of the time. He's an 8-figure entrepreneur. He's been in business for over 30 years in Australia, spoken in Parliament about the future of the Australian economy 3 times. He's been the most influential mentor in our life. And he speaks about permission for wealth and the logical levels, and that at every major inflection point, there's a whole new level of permission, right, for wealth. Why? Because all of a sudden, there's a whole new level of permission for the individual to go, I am worthy of receiving all of this energy, which is just money, right? Money is just energy.
Exactly.
And now that I've received it, and my cup that's now this big instead of this big, that's now this big, is now full, I can actually give more. So the more permission we have to receive is directly proportionate to how much we give, because giving is actually a selfish act. Receiving is a selfless act. I'll say that again. People are going, what? Giving is a selfish act. Receiving is a selfless act. Where society may have taught us that that giving is selfless and receiving is selfish.
Yeah.
It's fucking not true. Flip the script, everyone. Flip the script. We give because it feels good and because it's the right thing to do, which is selfish. It's our conscience getting full. It's our cup getting full. That's why we give. That's why we inherently feel the need to give. So that means that the selfless act is us giving ourselves permission to receive, right? Receive, 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 so that we have energy to give more to the world. And the more we are willing to receive, the more we can give. And as we transcend our clients, as we transcend ourselves through consciousness and we make more money, right? The impact indicators start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What we find is inherently, because we're training heart-based individuals, like conscious heart-based individuals, they just give more. They turn up to more free events. They do more free workshops. They help more people. They start creating charities, non-for-profits, all of these things because they've looked after themselves first and they've given themselves permission to receive more than they've ever received before. And guess what? They just reflect it, boom, and give and give and give and give without getting worn out, without taking time away from themselves, from their family, and from everyone else. Because how amazing is it, right, to pay a staff member?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like we pay our assistant, Jenny, she's in the Philippines. She's incredible. She's a part of the family. We pay her well above the average wage of the Philippines, almost double. And it feels so epic because it gives me back so much more time in my life and allows me to do the things, not have to do the things I don't want to do. But she loves doing those things and she's earning more money than her parents are earning. And she's creating freedom for herself and giving that permission to other people around her. This is like it's
the flowing.
Dude, it's make more money. Make more money because more money equals more impact in this world.
Yeah, look, I love that, mate. And there's a few things in there I want to touch on, and I love the way you sort of delivered them, and it's so true, right? Like there's so many people out there in the world, especially within my space and the development space and, people that in the holistic world and all the sort of stuff that are out there. How can I say this? I'm not going to say it eloquently. I'm just going to say it for how it is. The point is, exactly what you said. It's like we look at this giving as a selfless act. I even said selfish, right? Selfless act. And that's bullshit. Because you know what? Not receiving is in itself denying someone the opportunity to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like not receiving is literally denying someone else the opportunity to do what it is you want to do for them or someone else. Right? So to me, that is just so pertinent to really, truly understand. Well, because I would say, and look, I've had major struggles with this myself personally to be able to receive, right? I mean, I could give all day long, like, give. That type of bloke could, no, don't worry, you don't have to walk over that fire. I'll just lay on it. Here you go. You can walk on my back. It's fine. Like you're set,
Me too, man. Me too.
And I think the more that I've actually taken my own responsibility for myself and looking at my truth and looking who I am and really, looking at myself, the more value I've offered to others in the sense that I've realized that they're their own creator. They've got this, right? They can do this. They don't need someone to, there's a very fine line between enabling and supporting someone or enabling and disabling someone, right? There's a very, very fine line between that stuff. And I think what you said is so pertinent that, we can sit here and say, we're giving. And I had this conversation today. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I was having a bit of a conversation today, and funnily enough, what do you know? It's got to do with what we're talking about. There's the rainbows and kittens and all the fairy stuff out there.
Yep.
So how do we come from a place, right, of, right, we decide we want to receive, we decide we want to do all this stuff, but how do we come to a place of having that real joy in our lives? Right, because we want the joy, we want the happiness, we want all the things. All these other things are great and are fantastic. They allow us the units of choice allow us to support other people and have that take back more of that time to be able to give to others and so on and so forth. But because I was speaking to someone today, right? We in the unconscious mind and in the what would you call it? The Groundhog Day sort of, living from habitual habits. I call that the float now, right? The float and the flow. So you've got the float and the flow. So living from the habitual habits, the unconscious, the Groundhog Day, living that life, autopilot. I call that the float, right? Now in the flow, I found something interesting too. And it's funny because we're talking about this with the Special Forces as well. I've also become aware you can be caught so much in the flow that you don't notice the butterflies anymore. You don't notice the ants. You don't notice the little things, right? You don't even notice the roses. You don't sniff the roses anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? You get to that point in that flow that you're so in the flow and creating and doing and whatever, then we don't stop to smell the roses anymore. What would you say? What would you say to that sort of discussion and that person?
I love this. It's so funny because we were having this conversation on Coffee and Consciousness this morning with the community as well, it's the same thread, and it's so simple. This is literally the difference. This is the polarity between being conditioned to survive and being conditioned to thrive. And here's the thing, like people that survive forget that the roses exist, forget that there's a world outside of the need to survive. People who thrive, you'll notice, stop and smell every rose, stare up at the sky, make fun of themselves, laugh, do shit, prioritize fun over business, fun over work, spend time with people they like, and don't spend time with people they don't like, by the way. But the survivors, which is how we've been conditioned, these things become an excuse of, but I don't have time to do that because realistically, I got to survive. So when you've got to survive, all you can do is survive. That's it. The only objective is stay alive.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm so fortunate that I'm trained as a master NLP practitioner and a master of the unconscious mind. And this is it, like the unconscious mind, when it recognizes the need to survive, one track, which is stay alive, find food, find water, find a roof, stay there, done. And so you're not going to stop and smell any roses. You're not going to do any of these things, right? And what's connected directly to our relationship to surviving? Our relationship to money and success. And that's the reason why the money conversation is important right now, because it's like what happens is when we make more money, it takes us further away from surviving and closer to thriving. And this is the beautiful thing about units of choice, right? Is that when we become a thriver, all of a sudden we have the ability to buy time back. We have the ability to notice that the story of being too busy is bullshit and was given to us. We borrowed it from society, like many of the other programs that we borrowed. We borrowed it from society. We borrowed it from our parents. We borrowed it from our boss. We borrowed it from our uncle. We borrowed it from our school teachers. We borrowed all of these thoughts. They're not actually yours. And if you want to survive, maybe start borrowing if you want to thrive, maybe start borrowing thoughts from people who are good at thriving. Recognize what it is that they do in life and start doing those things, because then you become a thriver. And part of that is making more units of choice, is stopping and smelling the roses, creating a lifestyle and a business that works around your lifestyle rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I'll say this right now, Benjamin, because I think this is important. The first 6 to 9 months of doing this takes grit, it takes perseverance, and it takes directed focus energy. The first 6 to 9 months, it's crucial. Yeah. Guys, it's probably not going to be that easy for most of you. Some of you, it might be easy for most of you, it's probably going to be freaking hard, man. And you're going to have to take energy from other areas of your life, which may be the gym, which may be a relationship, which may be getting coffees with friends. For a short period of time, the first 6 to 9 months, you're going to take some energy to direct it at this idea of going, you know what? I'm done with the system. I'm done with mediocre. I want awesome. I want to think differently. I want to expand. And you're going to direct that energy forward into your life to build this new you, to create this new version of reality. And then once you're in that, you start very quickly going, great, let's now feed energy back into these other areas of our life. And let's pay someone to hold the energy in the business here. Let's pay someone to hold the energy here. Let's pay someone to hold the energy here so that we can focus more on the things that are fun. So I will say, you know, and I know you've experienced this too, that the price of admission, if you like, is 6 to 9 months of tests of going, you know what, I've got this and I'm going to devote all my energy towards it. And it will be okay because in 6 to 9 months, like I have become the person, I have created the reality and I can have it all now. But we're breaking free of this or that in the level that we're in, you know, of right and wrong, this or that. Oh, I can't have that if I have that. We're pushing through and we're creating, I can have both. How can I have both? By creating units of choice and creating freedom. And this is so important, man. It's so important to recognize.
And you know what? I love that you brought that up, James, because I'll be honest with you, man, like I was going to be the devil's advocate here. And I was going to say, but James, to create that wealth and those units of choice, don't I have to do the hustle? Don't I have to do the hours of work that's required for me to do that? Then I have to take that away from, but hang on, isn't time my greatest commodity? Isn't all these other questions come in, right? Yeah. And that's the reality is, look, and from my training, I can say, you know, from my personal life, from my experiences in life, from my training, from not wanting to kill myself to where I am today, did I wake up one morning off the pillow and just go, oh, thanks, universe, all sorted, thanks. No fucking way. No. It took grit. It took determination. It took the warrior by design to create the life that I have today, right? And is it perfection? Fucking what is perfection? What is perfection? Yeah. Is it my perfection? Your perfection? His perfection? Her perfection? I don't know.
It's training, isn't it? The warrior is a warrior because of the training. And if they never go to battle, fantastic. But the point is they're ready.
That's it. And they've got more than anything, they're willing to show up as who they need to be, what they want, what they need to be, and get the how, use that why to get the how and what we need to achieve what we need in life, right? That's what the warrior is. That's what that will is, that desire, that passion, that dedication, that discipline. It all allows us to what? Take action to be able to create what it is we want in life. And I can tell you right now, when I was laying in bed, not wanting to get out in the morning, thinking what's the point to life, I was taking no fucking action in life. The very least action in life, literally, I've ever taken. Like not showering, barely eating, maybe roll around the bed a couple of times. Thank goodness for my children at the time, because they were the only reasons I got out of bed. Right? Now, why was my life so shit when I was taking so little action? But then I take a lot more action. Even one that would seem to me now so friggin' overwhelming to someone back then, to my headspace back then. But what I'm able to achieve on a day-to-day basis now compared to even 2 years ago that would have seemed so friggin' overwhelming is phenomenal. Like,
yeah,
totally, and day to day, right? We go, some of us, depending on how we live our lives, 9 to 5, we have spent all those hours working for someone else doing something, doing whatever it is, doing the actions to get that money at the, and not that there's anything wrong with that if it's something you love or whatever. But if we're able to dedicate that much time to be able to survive, why can't we dedicate time to being able to thrive?
Yup. And it's a transition, right? We've got to bring them together and merge them as one and create integration.
Yeah.
It's not about going from one to the other. It's actually about integrating both, because the memory and the ability to survive is important, and it's a part of learning how to thrive, because they're a paradox, right? Like, they're both either side of the paradox, meaning that to survive is to understand how to thrive. Because how would you understand how to thrive if you didn't know the opposite of thriving, which is surviving? So they're both really necessary, and the paradox of understanding both is crucial, which is why, like you said, for a short time, there is this hustle phase, in a sense. There is this phase of showing up to your training. It's the price of admission. So if we use the metaphor of battle, if there is a battlefield, to the person who is trained is a probability of getting to the other side, because you know what to expect. And the danger that other people may think it exists is far less to you, because you're trained to recognize it and to avoid it and to move through it, right? And it's the same in business, that this period at the beginning to get to your 10K months, 20K months, yes, like, you're going to need to focus your energy, and you're going to need to go through your training program, and it's going to whip your ass for a little while. Why? Because the universe is going to deliver right hooks always. You know what I mean? Like, there's one thing certain. There'll always be right hooks from the universe. They're always going to come to you, especially if you're in business for yourself, as you know, right, Benjamin? You're responsible now for copying them all. So you want to make sure you're trained to a point where if the universe delivers a right hook, you can take it, get back up, and not let it phase you. And this is what's so important about this phase of understanding that, yes, it can be easy. And yes, coming into thrive is important, and buying back your time and stopping and smelling the roses. There's also a training period, like everything in life. And it's actually okay for the first 6 to 9 months to devote energy and get into it. Because when you hustle, you're also telling your unconscious mind and the universe, which, by the way, are one and the same. I'll leave that for the people who are listening for those layers. You're telling your unconscious mind and the universe, which are one and the same, that you want this more than anything. And when you want something more than anything, the probability of achieving it is like 100%, right? Whereas if you only kind of half want it, and you're only prepared to do a little bit of it, but you're not really prepared to hustle for what is your dream, for what is your life by design, then why would the universe or your unconscious mind believe you and deliver you the stepping stones that you need to get to where you want to go if you're not going to be 100% convicted? So actually, it's about conviction at the beginning. 6 to 9 months of conviction and being grounded in your purpose, and being prepared to do anything, right? To dodge the bullets flying, to dodge the bombs going off, to tactically get to the other side, like your life depended on it, is you telling your unconscious mind and the universe that this is your jam, that this is your conviction, this is the life you want and the person you want to become. And then naturally you do. And when you get to that 6 to 9 month mark and you're making that 10K, 20K, 30K a month, holy shit, now you can start buying your time back. And it's so liberating when you start to buy your time back and you get more time to stop and smell the roses. And then what can happen is at the next level, it gets even crazier, right? You actually get paid more to stop and smell the roses and have more fun more often. the more fun you have, the more you stop and smell the roses, and people see that, you actually get paid even more, because people are like, wow, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's heaven on earth. I want to go there. It's wild, right? The transition of consciousness is real, and it starts with units of choice. It starts with units of choice.
Yeah, and look, that's, it's very paramount, right? Because let's be honest, there's so many people, including myself for a long time, that struggle with this, right? That struggle with that, getting through those layers and getting through that understanding that, I mean, we all logically know it. Like, we all logically know, like, I wish I would win lotto, or I wish there's all these things that, but if I have more of this, I can have the life I want, rah, rah, rah. But, as we know, winning the lotto without that mindset doesn't necessarily give you that life you want, right?
Yeah.
You need to have those frameworks. You need to have that foundation to be able to hold the weight of that money, right? Because it is an energy. Now, if you've got an energy that's impacting you at this caliber, a couple of dollars an hour, or you've got an impact that's, an energy that's impacting you at this caliber, your foundations need to be different, right? And the foundations of support need to be different. You need to be able to hold that weight, if we want to use that metaphor.
It's like literally like lifting weights, isn't it? You're not going to go to the end of the dumbbell rack and lift the 50s before you've started at the 5s.
Yeah.
And if you lift the 50s, you're going to break, literally, like, in every sense of the word. And it's no different, is it? It is about how much capacity you can hold.
100%. And I think that's the real reality. And I think the more I personally explore this for myself and I go down this journey, you really come to the understanding that, I think it's more if I can say it, it's people's opinions, obviously, and perspectives of this, right, that allow people to have these, I suppose, hold these personalities and these opinions of what this is, like, even if I look at myself and all parts of my life, you would have looked at people that were millionaires. See, what my whole basis is here is pull down these fucking fantasy, right? Like, the fantasy, it all exists. The consciousness is there, all the fairy and the fluff and everything's at the other end. But let's not pretend it's just going to be waking up one morning and it's there, right? Because it's not. There's a lot of, you've got to have that dedication. You've got to have that will. You've got to have that discipline. You've got to have that structure. You've got to have the foundations. You've got to build that knowledge base. You've got to build all this stuff to be able to support yourself. And you know what? It's not even any of that shit. Let's be honest. It's about feeling safe in that area, about feeling safe in that environment, feeling secure, for feeling vulnerable enough, allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to be able to understand there's no need for vulnerability. It's just be you, right? Like, just be you, just do you. And what are you being vulnerable to? Who are you being vulnerable to? What? Opinions, thoughts, perceptions, like, it's so interesting, because that's the frameworks we talk, right? And that, we talk about what were the words you used?
The paradox.
The paradox, yeah. The paradox, right? We talk about those paradoxes and them. So, as you said, it's about having that safety.
Yeah.
How would you speak to someone that doesn't understand, that may not understand your perspective on what that safety looks like?
I love it. And if it's okay with you, I'll give a quick rundown of my background and my story. 100%. So that anyone who's listening to this point who might think that I've come from a space of money, I've come from a space of being in this mindset forever, I'm just going to confirm that if you're thinking that right now, you're very wrong. Cool. And I'll explain why. But I'll just start by this, right? And I want to just, something you said about securing survival, right? And this is what it comes down to. So for anyone who's not understanding, right, this transition from surviving to thriving, right, is done in phases. the first thing that you must do to be able to move away from survival and a little bit further towards thriving is actually solidify the certainty of survival, meaning that you need to know, what does it cost to be you per month, right? What does it cost to be you to maintain your lifestyle? That is, put food on your table, water in your mouth, a roof over your head, and have a little bit of fun. So that at the end of the week, you're like, I had a good week, right? Just enough, right? Which, for many people is around $800 a week, maybe $1,000 a week, depending on where you live, maybe $1,200 a week, right? What is that figure? And that's actually your first goal. It's your first milestone. And if you can be certain that that figure is coming in week after week after week, month after month after month, then all of a sudden survival gets a little bit further away and you get a little bit closer to thriving. And then after that, you go, okay, good. How much extra do I want? What's the next logical level? Now, from what it costs to be you per month, it's actually pretty simple to make the next logical level 10K a month. There's actually not that much in between to be able to go from there to there, because the rules are somewhat similar. They're somewhat the same. It all comes down to mindset now. Increase your permission, right? Then get to that 10K. And then from there, when you got 10K a month, here in Australia, especially, and in most countries, it's more than you need. And you can start going, okay, how much further than this do I want to go? Because some people are absolutely sweet doing $2,000, two and a bit grand a week. It's a pretty damn good life, especially if you've got a partner and you're both making that kind of money. 20 grand a month, done. So you don't have to go further than that. But if you do, then we can start to talk about what the next logical levels are and how to get there without spending more time to get there. Because you can get there by buying back time at every level. And so for us, we take our clients to 10K a month. And then from 10 to 20K, we actually get them to buy back time and get to 20. So when they get to 20K, they're not doing any more work. They're not doing double the work to make double the money. They're doing the same amount of work to make double the money. They're buying their time back. So again, just to preface that, what you need to start with is, if you don't know how much it costs to be you per month, drop everything this week and find out. Do all the, push into the discomfort of going through your bank statements, of calculating everything. I'm talking, how much do you spend on food, electricity, rent, car registration, fuel, all the things that you need to survive every single month. Find that figure and make sure with certainty that it is covered. Because if you can cover that figure with certainty, all of a sudden, survival just got this much further away and thriving just got that much closer. And then from there, you can go, okay, the next logical step to get closer to thriving is this. And you get to start doing more of the things that you love. Stop to smell the roses more often, the more you move to thriving. It starts with certainty, right? Of knowing that survival's sorted. Just start there for anyone that's listening. For me, I grew up north in Port Douglas in a teeny tiny little town. I went to high school in Mossman. If anyone's ever been there, you probably haven't. Middle of nowhere, in a space where money is evil and the rich are filthy, right? I'm sure you've all heard that, right? Filthy rich. Why do people need such big houses? Why do people need this, need that? Money is bad. I worked on the Great Barrier Reef. I lived up there in the forest and on the reef my whole life. I worked on the Great Barrier Reef for 7 years. I spoke to over 100,000 people about the future of the Great Barrier Reef in that time. And the biggest evil, in our words, were the corporations, the mining companies, and money. Money and corporations, they're the things that are causing the reef to suffer. And strangely enough, through that time where I was projecting that, I was also causing myself to suffer. And I went through 5 years of chronic anxiety. I mean, chronic anxiety. 3 times in that 5 years, I spent weeks not being able to leave the house. And I was someone who jumped off cliffs, who kite surfed, who wakeboarded, who loved adrenaline and extreme shit for growing up and through my early 20s. And then I became someone who was terrified of fear itself and couldn't leave the house. For 5 years, I did that to myself, right? And also projected, right, this idea that that money is bad, that money is evil, that abundance is wrong, that wanting to receive more than you give is bad and it's wrong. So I was giving and giving and giving and giving until I was in a state of not being able to get out of bed, of not being able to leave the house. of constantly getting sick, of not having any money over and over and over again. I can't even count on both hands the amount of times that I've been past zero bank balance in my life. I have, which is why now I'm getting so good at helping people beat that, because of the perspective, right? Because it's the paradox. Now, it was hard and it sucked. That 5 years was horrible. It ruined relationships, ruined my body was not in anywhere close to where I wanted to be. I had to leave jobs. I hated myself. My self-esteem was low. All of the things that you can imagine that come with that. Like, I've been there too, man. You know, we all have our story, right? And it puts these things into perspective. And what I realized was that was a choice that I was making to do to myself based on the environment I was choosing to keep myself in. I also realized that it's not money, it's not the corporations, and it's not the conglomerates that are killing the reef. It's the fact that most of the populations of humans are designed to believe that giving is the right thing to do and receiving is bad. So what it means is that when we ask people to help the reef, when we ask people to help others, they don't have enough energy left in their cup to help themselves. So they actually can't help others. They can't help the reef. It's not an ask that is even respectful to expect of somebody. So why did people wait until the reef had already been destroyed by 80% to believe that it was happening? Because actually what people need to do is focus on themselves first and create a level of abundance that allows them to expand their permission to receive so that they can give more. So they have time to buy back and stop and smell the roses and go, oh, wow, actually, yeah, maybe I will start educating myself on how to help the environment, on how to help others. Maybe I will give. But until we have more people who can fill their own cup, their family's cup first, their friends' cup, we can't expect people to give more outside of themselves without reducing their ability, right, to thrive.
Yeah.
So I realized that to help save the reef, what I needed to do was, number one, do the work on myself and increase my capacity, right? Clear out all the limiting beliefs, all the emotions that were holding me back. Change the way that I looked at saving the reef, at creating impact, right? And recognize that how we ask people to do things is really important. And if we're asking people that can't first help themselves, how can we expect them to help anyone else? So you know what we did? Both Craig and I, we did a shitload of self-development. We invested a lot of money, over 150 grand in the last 2 years, almost 3 years, on ourselves to become who we need to become to run Two Minds Project. And then we started a company that would allow us to facilitate the transition of consciousness in people, right? So that we can get more people to abundance, to buy time back, so that we can then have a true impact on the world. But first, we need to have an impact on the individual. We need to help people to create more units of choice, more freedom for themselves. And now, after 2 years, we've launched Kina, Keeping It Neutral Australia, with a bunch of with 5 other companies, which allows us to then just provide a simple solution where people actually get to donate $5 and it removes a kilo of plastic from the ocean and it plants a tree. And every product we sell, we donate $5. We run whole events. We do massive fundraisers for that. But first, before we even considered, doing what most people do, which is I'll start the non-for-profit first and I'll give it all. And then they run out of money and then they go back to work, right? Instead of doing that, we realized actually we've got to help ourselves. We got step by step by step. We need to help ourselves and get closer to thriving. So we have the capacity to help others outside of ourselves and help the environment. So man, this is a journey, man. Yeah. This is what Two Minds Project is all about.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And I really love, your direction with it because, because the other thing exists too, right, within the field, right, within these movements and within these, there's a lot of people that don't necessarily highlight what you're highlighting right now, when it comes to the money aspects and, getting those units of choice and all that sort of stuff. And I think some people struggle with that, right? Some people struggle with, they struggle with the whole money thing because they're not willing to receive. and they're not willing to have that abundance, and they're not feeling, that self-worthiness enough to be able to have that. That's first and foremost, right? And this is where I think there's definitely levels between this, right? And why I know that creating these units of choice within our lives certainly allow us to change our perspective and our consciousness and our awareness and challenge things that we've known to be true and all that sort of stuff. I think there's obviously, like, I always talk about connection, right? Because, when I first got into this, as much as I love, as much as I'm dedicated, commitment, and all the things that I am, and these, all these fancy things, I'm well aware these shoulders aren't going to hold the world, right? Now, I don't care how many weights I'm lifting.
You've tried too, haven't you?
I have. I have, brother. I have.
I'm broke.
Yeah. And totally, exactly. And that's, and it's come to the point, but there's also, what I loved listening to you is that there's also that because you can be a billionaire, right? And still not have joy, happiness, and whatever in your life, because there's intention behind that. There's the intention behind that. There's the heart behind that. There's, like, you can be very driven and focused in that direction and still achieve those figures, but it's not necessarily be smelling those roses or having that heartfelt intention behind any of it, right? And I think that's where that exists. Though I don't want to focus in that area or put any intention on that or attention on that, I think people kind of, like, if I speak to myself now, I needed to understand that that's not all that's out there. There's people like you. There's people that are out, so many people. There are more people, those little people that have more units of choice to be able to support and have people out there with the right intention from here, from the heart space. The more that consciousness can shift, right? The more that we can shift as a society, as a species, as a human beings, to be able to, as you said, create real change with the Great Barrier Reef. Because, brother, you could have been out there planting every piece of coral you wanted for the rest of your life until you died.
Talking, and having nothing received.
But now, with what you're doing with your charity, I don't even know, but I'm just assuming, a bit of an assumption here, that you're having have the ability of having so much more impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%, man. 100%. And, our vision is to improve planetary symbiosis by integrating technology in the environment. And this is all these things we're talking about is how we do it. It's not a small mission, and it takes patience and it takes perseverance. You know what I mean? And it takes constant learning, and it takes a team of people, a community, a collective, right? A planet to do it. Planetary symbiosis is all of us being able to live in synchronicity, in symbiosis. It takes a planet to do this. And that's it, man. Like, it's so important. And I hated money in the past, and I was so terrified of it, and I thought of it so differently. And the first step is and this is why I come back to the impact indicator scale. It's why I created the word impact indicator, because it's an amazing reframe for money. And it encourages people to make more money so they can measure their impact. Money is the measurement, right, for impact indication. And the beautiful thing is I know that our non-for-profit makes more impact the more money it makes, right? Because we can measure the impact. So why should you make money? Because it's an impact indicator. It allows you to measure where you are in space and time, and it allows you to create a scale that can grow and grow and grow and grow. And part of impact indication is going, how much joy am I experiencing? What you said, right? How often am I stopping to smell the roses? Because that's an impact indicator as well. The more money you make, the more time you buy back, the more you get to experience those impact indicators. So that's why we are on such a mission to recognize that to help the Great Barrier Reef, I got to help people reframe their mindset around money first. Because once upon a time, survival meant hunting and gathering, right? Once upon a time, survival meant a spear, a fire, cool, and some roots and bulbs in the ground. Yeah. In modern day humans, this spear is a $50 note. And this is what's connected us to survival in our current economy, in the current conscious evolution of human beings. So that means that the sharper the spear, right? The more effective the spear thrower, the more effective the hunter, the more food and abundance we can create, and the further away from survival we go, and the closer to thriving we get. So that's why this conversation is important. That I know now, to help the reef, I got to help more people make more money and change their opinion of what it is, so that we can have more people increase their capacity to live the life that they want, to be fulfilled themselves, so that they can help something outside of themselves. That's the mission, brother. And it's so beautiful to meet other people like you who are on this mission with us, because it's people like you who are helping to share this message, who are bringing more people in to hear it, man. Without people like you, this cannot be possible. So massive congratulations to you. And if you're listening to this podcast, man, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you're following Benjamin. Make sure you're finding him on socials, and share this thing around, because this legend is doing something for the planet that's so much bigger than himself. And you're involved and you're invited.
Thank you, brother. And, I'd love to for you if you could just let the guys know where they can hit you up to. And obviously the Two Minds Project, but where specifically can they go to find you guys?
I love it, man. The best place to find us is at Two Minds Project on Instagram. So it's number 2, MINDSPROJECT. Find us there on Instagram, hit follow. And also on Facebook, you can find us as well. You can add me, my personal Facebook, which is James Balog, BALOG. And that is where we do our Coffee and Consciousness weekly catch-ups, weekly Zoom meetings, and where you can find a lot of information about everything that we're running. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with more community, with more like-minded legends. Any way that I can assist, if if you are an emerging entrepreneur, if you're stuck at that $2,000-$3,000 a month mark, we can definitely provide value in that area. And more than anything, Benjamin, brother, mate, thank you so much for inviting me on. I love what you are doing. I'm so excited to get to know you more as well. And any way I can support your mission, man, we're there with bells on. You just let us know. You say the word.
Yeah, mate. I'll be hitting you up after this. We're having a bit of a chat, and and I'll like always with my chats, I put links in there anyway for them to hit you up. But so either look in there for that, or just jump on, guys, and search out James and the Two Minds Project, because as you've heard for yourself, these guys are wanting to support people into be able to creating what they require at the moment, units of choice in the way of what we call fiat money, right? Now, I just want to really quickly touch on, remember people, when we were bartering, when we were swapping hides, when we were swapping meat, when we were swapping acts of service, when we're, in the future, if fiat money collapses, whatever, we're going to have some measure of exchange in that sense, right? In something of exchange in a form of whatever it is. And we've been doing that. The energy has not changed. The little object, remember that little object we used to give to everyone? Now it's just noughts and zeros in our bank account, 90% of it. It's changing, it's evolving, it's moving, right? So that energy is not changing.
That's a big part of our mission as well. Decentralized finance, the new system of currency. These are all things that we speak about all the time. These are all huge parts of the mission as well. And it's a really awesome point that you make there, Amazing stuff.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I've got one final series of questions here for you, if you don't mind.
Awesome.
It's a 3-part thing. If you were to go back in time and spend 30 seconds with yourself, what wisdom would you share with yourself, your warrior within, to create a life by design? Also, at what age would that be and why?
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna keep this one really simple. What I've learned is that on the journey to abundance, mastering time is really important. And the more time we spend not making decisions, cool. The more time we spend in limbo with decisions, the more time we waste, or the more time it takes us to get to where we want to go. So if I could go back and encourage my younger self to do anything, it would be to trust my intuition. And the moment I notice these thoughts becoming regular of, hey, you need to make this decision, rather than ignoring it like I did for so many years, making the decision and taking the action. Making the decision, taking the action, and not waiting so long. Whether it was relationships, whether it was anxiety, whether it was leaving jobs, all of these things, man, I waited so long in my life. Like I wasted so much time, and I went so deep and dark just to learn the lesson over and over again. And if I could encourage my younger self to do anything, it would be to have recognized that the lesson had been learned and make a decision to change, right? Take action, new action, so that I would have been further forward at a younger age, if that makes sense. Now, I certainly don't regret any of it, but if I could do that, it would simply be to, it's about buying back time, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. Because if I was thinking this way when I was 20, I'd be a billionaire by 30. And not just that, but I would have changed many things in the world, and that's it. That's it. Spend less time making decisions you got to make. Do it. Take action.
Yeah, love that, man. Love that. Thank you. Remember, guys, explore, create, and be.
Well, thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It really does make a difference. It helps others out there explore their warrior, create a life of choice by design, and be all that they wish to be. Remember, explore, create, and be.